Today, let's talk about player notes versus character notes in tabletop role-playing games. Welcome to RPGs Beyond the Roll. I'm Brian.
I'm Derica.
And here we're going to talk about things that are topics beyond just ROLL playing. We like to talk about role playing, ROLE, where you take on a role. And this is something that came up at our table just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it actually was a slightly heated debate because there was a lot of emotional and background baggage that came with it. And I don't think any of us at our particular table were truly meaning to be argumentative with each other because we're all
really good friends.
Really good friends. It's just we all were coming from a different place and wanted the best for everyone at the table, not just an individual.
Well, let's talk about what the problem was.
Sure.
One of the players wanted to record everything said during a session, like actually record it, to plug it into an AI system that would summarize and break it down into story mode so that they had an exact record of everything that was said and done through that session. My immediate gut response was no. Let me explain why. It's because in my mind, I was thinking, that's not right. That's not how history works. History is written after it happens. Therefore, your character would not have an exact memory of every single thing that was said and every single thing that was done along the way. It would be their own memory of what happened. Plus, with notes like that, every single player, every single character has all the same information, which means if your character wasn't even in the room when something happened, there's no way you would have that detailed of a memory of every single word that was said. So that was coming from a place of playing Dungeons & Dragons online, Neverwinter Night style persistent worlds, where we were able to play for hours almost every day, and it was a different kind of game. We were also much younger and didn't have as many responsibilities, and it was just easier to keep track of everything all the time. And it actually, when people were doing that there, it really bothered me, and it was kind of against the rules. Like, DMs didn't want people having that exact record because you wouldn't. So that's where my idea for that came from.
As an individual in real life, memory is a fickle thing, and it's also a very prejudice.
Yes.
Your memory is manipulated by your own personal experiences. So there might be something that happened to you in your past, then somebody might phrase something in a certain way, and that triggers a past memory that makes it either be a negative situation when it wasn't intended to be, or a positive situation when it wasn't intended to be. And that is part of your memory and your recollection of that moment. So these kind of interpretations and points of view, which we're going to get in further for in-character notes and journaling, is in our personal experience and take on things, part of the fun and joy of the game. It becomes more immersive.
The perspective of your character.
If you have everything in the perspective of your character. So we like to play characters that are either completely opposite of us or something
an extreme example of one of your traits kind of thing.
Yeah. And so we utilize that in our memory for that character, where they might have viewed something as an injustice when it wasn't at all, or they might have got their feelings hurt when none of that was intended. But that's part of the game and part of the fun of taking on that character.
Right, exactly. And that was why my gut instinct was no, because that's wrong. That's not role playing. That's not the way this should be. That you might as well just, like, characters don't walk around with a cassette recorder, listen to me, with a voice recorder or their cell phone recording audio with everything that they're doing. And then I had some time to think about it and came to a couple of realizations.
Realization number one.
We're not 20-somethings anymore.
We are not.
We do not have the time or the ability to make every minute of every day about Dungeons & Dragons, as much as we'd love to. As much as we'd like to, we do not have the capability to do so.
Now, this particular game, we managed to play pretty regularly, once a week. But even then, and I'm the DM for this game that we're talking about, I can't recall each detail from week to week because I have a life. I have a lot of stuff going on in between those Tuesday nights that get in the way of me realizing, oh yeah, you did kill the kobold, but you didn't try on the helmet, you know?
Right. And that is where I was under the impression that if each player took character notes, we would have the perspective of those characters to know what happened. However, as we've said, it's a fickle thing. So everybody might have literally different notes on what occurred. I'm afraid in the particular campaign we're playing right now that there are puzzles that we have a piece of it now, and later on we're going to find another piece. I'm guessing. She doesn't have to agree or disagree because she is a DM, but I'm putting this together myself. And if we don't have that initial piece correct, we can't get the second piece. Now, you might say, but that's part of the game. That's just the way it works. However, we play this game to have fun, not to be penalized. And we're all older. We're all, we have jobs, we have lives. Some of us are playing in other campaigns too, and it's hard to keep everything straight. So this is where I'm starting to feel like player notes and character notes have their place. And they're two different things. They're not the same thing at all. Player notes is, here's what happened. This is the synopsis. This is the summary, whatever. Here goes to everyone. Now, all the players are on the same page. All the players have the information that occurred. Now, what your character thinks can be completely different. And I started doing this. My character writes her own journal from her point of view. She is kind of a spoiled brat. So you can imagine what that journal is like. Another thing that happens when you're taking notes is you might be taking a note about something and something else is happening at the same time and you miss it. So your character might have been involved in it directly, but the player had no idea that this occurred because they were too busy taking notes. And that's where I kind of like the idea that Chris had, which was to record the session. Now he's hands off. He doesn't have to keep track. And then he feeds it into the system and it spits out notes for the players.
Another thing that came up when we were talking about it as a group is that even though we're role-playing as much as possible, we don't actually play out each moment of those characters' lives. So there's times where they might be resting, sitting around a campfire, and exchanging information, talking about something that they were thinking about that they just encountered, or, oh, did you guys totally see that thing? And, oh, no, I didn't see that thing. And so they would be sharing some cross information, even if they weren't physically there in character. Their friends, which hopefully your group is mostly friends, would be sharing that information, perhaps not in game, but out of game, but still part of it, if that makes sense.
Right. Let me clarify a little bit about what she means. Let's say your character wasn't present for something that occurred. The other members of your party were. Now, if you were to take notes and only rely on your character notes for that, that would be an omission. It wouldn't be there. Your other party members would have that, which means if it ever came up again, you'd be like, I don't know anything about this. I don't remember this at all. It's not in my notes. I know nothing about it. However, in real life, a traveling adventuring party like that has 24 hours a day, 7 days a week together. They're traveling, they're resting, they're on watch, they're doing all sorts of stuff. They would know more about each other than most people would ever know. So the likelihood that half your party was involved in a thing and the other half wasn't, and the other half never even hears about it ever, is very unlikely. Plus, it very neatly solves that problem. That a year later into the campaign, everybody has the same notes because it was shared information. Very, very simple, very neatly plugs that hole in my argument that I had. That my opinion has changed. I don't know if you've realized it.
Yeah.
But it also presents something very interesting for me. There is a problem, and some of us are taking notes while we're doing things, and it gets hard because, you're writing notes, you're missing things, you want to be paying attention, you want to be role-playing, you want to be in the moment, but you're taking notes. So now you're losing immersion. What I used to do when we played online, and I think this is by far the better way to go, now that I'm going to have player notes. If I have player notes that tell me everything that happened, when the session's over, the next morning while I'm having my coffee, I'll write my journal. Now it is completely based off of what I remember, what stuck out, and my character and my perspective of that moment.
But you still have the recorded notes,
Exactly.
the generic notes, if you will, to use as a basis that you can write that perspective from.
Exactly. But that way I can be present during the game. I don't have to worry about taking notes during the game because I'm going to have everything that's actually pertinent. And afterwards, I get to relive some of those moments and write it in my journal. And it makes it more fun and more of a memory of playing the game. Because I remember when we used to play online, that was one of my favorite things to do, was to write journal and diaries for my characters afterwards. I loved doing that. It was just, I like that kind of thing.
So there's a place for both. And
Yep.
I really encourage you,
Do both.
if the group, and always talk about this with your group,
The group
particularly
and the
your
DM.
If everybody is on board and agrees to these things, then go ahead and implement both, because having that overall generic note taking for everybody to have the information and details of what happened each game day is really great. But then having that additional viewpoint from your character is really going to help you develop your character even further. And so they will have triumphs and downfalls that they can bond or distance themselves, as you wish, with different players within your group. And maybe even have a fun hurdle to overcome that might not be anything, but might be fun to roleplay anyway.
I'm going to look up the name of that app that Chris is using. It does have a paid option. It's like $4 a month or something. It's called SessionKeeper. That's actually the name of it. And it literally records the whole thing, and then you can use AI to do it. I tried to make an easier version because we use Zoom to play, because we're playing with people who are in Michigan and England, and one of them is just a couple hours away.
Virginia.
And then Virginia. So our party's all over the world, basically. So we use Zoom, and I used the AI feature in Zoom. I don't recommend it because it made up details that didn't actually occur.
Yeah.
It merged some things, and it was a sloppy job, let's just say. And you would think Zoom is getting every single thing that's being said, but it didn't get it right. So I wouldn't do that. I was trying to feed that into ChatGPT, because if you have a good transcript, ChatGPT can actually do what SessionKeeper does if you set it up right, ask the right questions.
It was messy.
Yeah, this didn't work so well. So it might be worth $4 a month for SessionKeeper. Now, what Chris did is he set it up, and all of us can log into it for free, not have to pay. So only one person's paying, and everybody else gets to see what's happening. And it does like little highlights for your character and stuff like that. They are not a sponsor. They have nothing to do with this. They don't even know who we are. No. I am not even that familiar with the software. I just wanted to mention it in case somebody was interested in looking into that.
I'm sure there's a lot of other software out there.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch.
Do due diligence and check them out and see what might work best for you.
But in closing, character notes, super important. Player notes, super fun. And that's the key. One is important and necessary for the game. The other one is for flavor and for balance and for extra.
I think you said that backwards.
No.
Player notes are important. Character notes are for fun.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
I think you said it backwards.
Did I?
It's okay.
I meant player notes are important. Character notes are for fun. However, it came out the first time. Sorry.
It's okay.
That's why we just do these things live. It's all good. Stream of consciousness, lovely thing. If you have other topics that you'd like to hear us discuss about role-playing games in general, or the processes involved, let us know in the comments below. And if you have questions about this, please ask away. I tend to check comments on a regular basis on this channel, so if anything comes up, I see it.
Also, if you found a program that works really great with Zoom that will aid us in this endeavor, let us know that as well, because we're always looking to improve our game.
Absolutely. And as always, guys, may the rules ever be in your favor. Is that really how we end these?
Yeah, and then you say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.